We are setting up our base before we do anything else. We get our survey tripod, we get it aligned on a known point, we get our base set up, and we will show you how to get it to start logging and recording in the phone right now. In the phone, if you're using the MLID that you have received from Atlantic Laser Scanning, we're going to open up our MLID Flow app. We're going to see our base. And we're going to click on base, open that up, check the status, see how many satellites we have. It says we have satellites in view 28. Personally, I'm happier when it's over 30, but that's just because I'm spoiled. Our coordinates and precision are reading fine. Let's see, I'm not connected to a rover at the moment, so we don't need corrections. Now, if you're not familiar with it, you've got to go into logging and tell it to start recording. Personally, myself, I tell it to record all settings, just in case there's a file I needed after the fact, as again, it's better to have too much data rather than not enough. We're recording first on all three of these. We'll let them start collecting data. Just tap on your name of your base station. Most likely, if you've got the rental, it will be labeled as base, and another will be labeled as rover. If you're having an issue with the rover, you can do the same thing. I'm having an issue with the base, so I did a restart. Did a digital restart, and once it did that, it was allowing it to collect data. So there was some sort of a connection glitch between the phone and the app and the base. But we got it fixed. Now we're going to get our ground control points set up. Once we get all of our ground control points set up and nailed down, we can take our rover around and get our measurements, and we can show you how to do that shortly. When you're setting up the bipod with the rover on it, you want to set it on the nail that you're using in the dead center of the ground control point, or just on the dead center of the ground control point that is visible by the camera in order to align the project. In order to do that, you're going to get your horizontal lined up and your vertical lined up by putting it on a 2-meter bipod. That gives you your vertical, and your horizontal is going to be the bubble level built onto the bipod. Following that, you'll notice on the phone, on the app, when you're in the survey project section, you'll be able to hit start measure. You'll have an antenna height, which is 2 meters. You'll label the point, and you'll be able to hit start. And you want to take a measurement, which is an average measurement of all the satellites it's reading at that time, for approximately 2 minutes at the minimum. I recommend 5 minutes, give or take. On something small like this, in a demo project, we did 2 minutes, just to give everybody kind of a quick idea of how to do what we're doing. Hello, I'm Seth Berry with Global Hawk, and we're going to walk you through how to use the XT32 when you order your XT32 rental unit. You're going to get a case here. Comes with a laptop, all phone protected, and your XT32. Most importantly, you're going to have all the parts you need, such as your antenna, pretty much a GoPro clip mount that has a double-sided sticker, 3M sticker. I've kind of preset one up, but for the most part, it's just one of these little double-sided units. Take one side off and you'll stick it to this little clip, and you're going to go ahead and stick it right to the top of the center of the drone in front of the light at your best place. It's out of the way of any of the 360 side mounts, the 360 visual mounts, to make sure you're not going to run into anything, and you just clip that on. So I found the best way to actually clip it on and have a little sturdiness to it is clip it in there first. Gives you something to hold on to. Unpeel that part of the sticker. I personally like facing it forward myself this way, so stick that to your drone, Gives you some surface area to press onto. Now we have your mount attached, and you can disconnect it whenever you want. If you'd like to keep that on your drone for when you rent the next time, it's there. Clip that back on. And what I do myself is I take this antenna. You have to make sure it's clear of these propellers. I'll take it and I'll wrap it directly under the leg, and then go right up in here, and I'll go right to maybe the single gimbal mount or something to that effect. And we'll just let it dangle there until we're ready to hook up the XT32. Next, we're going to get out the XT32. Doesn't matter how you get it out, whether you take foam out to get it out or what. You're going to remove the leather cover, which protects it from scratches. And right here is where you're going to screw on your antenna. They'll screw right together, and you can do it after you connect it. So to connect it, we're going to line up the white dot, and personally I find it easiest to remove the lens cap first because I've forgotten a few times, and I'm really good at forgetting to take it off if I start setting it up without. So anyway, back to lining it up. We put the white dot on the red dot, hold right here and push it together, and you're going to kind of twist it around counterclockwise until you hear a click or feel a click, and you align the two red dots. Now we know it's locked, and then we just screw the antenna right into the attached port here. There we go. And that gives us our GNSS signal for the IMU to line up and everything else. Your Wi-Fi antenna should already be attached. If it's not, and it's not screwed in, it's going to be this antenna here. Kind of has a 90-degree foldable to it. It says Wi-Fi. You screw it on there onto the Wi-Fi attachment, and then fold it down. I usually aim it towards the ground. Unless you're flying really far away from yourself and need to attach, it really doesn't matter which direction it's folded as long as you have it attached. So, before we do anything else and we move forward at all, we're going to make sure and we insert the USB drive. And that goes in right over here. Just below the antenna, you'll see a thing that says USB for an insert slot. You're just going to slide it in right there. Push just softly enough till it stops. All right. From there, we're going to go ahead and we're going to set up our mission plan. Turn on our controller here. And now we're going to go into the controller.
Hello, so now that we are in the controller, we are going to click on Flight Route right there, and we're going to create a route. The type of route we're going to create for this figure 8 shortcut is going to be a waypoint route. We click on the waypoint route and we set waypoints. We're not doing a live mission record, we are going to set waypoints. So once we get that opened up, we are going to go to where the flight mission will be, which in our case for this demo is going to be right there in the center. We're doing the roundabout with the pump jack. We'll label this figure 8 flight route shortcut. Alright, now that that's done, there's a very important step that we need to do. It's all the way at the bottom of the second route window. We need to change waypoint type right here to coordinated turn skips waypoint. So that way it's a continuous turn. It does not stop at each waypoint and turn and then continue on. From there, we're going to change the relative altitude to whatever our flight altitude is. My flight altitude close to 100 feet, so we'll make that 100 feet. The speed will always be over 15. I'll just put it at like 20, 25, somewhere in there. That gives us an average speed of over 15 miles an hour no matter what. We know we're safe. You can max it out if you want to just to be safe. It doesn't matter because once you get close to the turn, it'll set a 10-yard default turn and you'll be alright from there. So now we're going to shrink that window, then we're going to zoom in a little bit, and we'll make our first start point right about there. We're going to go maybe 300-400 feet away. That'll give us our excuse me, that'll give us our straight 3 to 5 second flight of 15 miles an hour minimum, give or take right about there, and kind of drag it out to about 400 feet so we know we're safe, and move it down there. So okay, and then from there, after we have our straight line, we can make our 2 figure-8s by making 2 hourglass figures. So we're going to make our second point, basically is now the start point because we have our finished straight line. We'll go about 100 feet. We can shorten it so it's give or take close to 100 feet. Now that we can use that different distance as a rough idea, we'll double that, say about 200 feet, 100 feet, 200 feet, and then what we're going to do, because we can't click on these or they're going to start moving for, like, say if we go to click by number 3, it'll think we're clicking number 3 and move that. So we'll click out here and we'll move that down to where it looks like it's about close to 100 feet, and then we'll do the same thing up here, close to 100 feet. You can almost drop it on the same points. Get close, drop it close to the same points. Doesn't have to be exact. We'll drop one out here, drag it to the same point. We'll do one more over here just for good measure because it doesn't have to be exactly 2 figure-8s. It just needs to be 2 lefts, 2 rights, 2 lefts, 2 rights. That's what they want, and that's what they'll tell you when they tell you to do your 2 figure-8s. They just, for some reason, have everybody fly it manually. Now, since we're going to finish back where we started and make sure it's a straight line, we can just drop a line over here, drag that down to where we started, finish right where we started, and we can save that flight route by clicking the save button up in the top left corner there. Now we're good. Now we have our flight mission. We'll move back out of the controller now, and
there's 2 things you can do. One, you can put on the extra gimbal dampeners. The extra gimbal dampener set will come with the drone if you've rented it or decided you want to take that extra step to install, use the LiDAR, uninstall, and put it back in the rental case. Myself, not a fan. Went on Amazon myself, I just go cheap there, bought a $3 kit of 1,000 hair rubber bands. Mostly for 5-year-olds, I would assume. Just bought the color black to match. All you got to do, grab 2 of these little tiny suckers. I think these were half inch. Grab a couple of these rubber bands. Just going to give them some extra support right up here. So, one around there, one around there, and we'll put one on the other side of each side. If it doesn't look like your dampeners are doing very well, you can fold them in half or put another one on each one. These are pretty good rubber bands, so I'll probably just fold them in half. And once we're done with that, you can move forward. And you can always replace these in between missions. You don't have to do it between battery swaps. They last all day. So you'll be in good shape. Alright, I'll finish getting these installed and I'll be right back with you. Now that we've got our dampeners backed up so we don't have any extra sag, and we're not going to stretch them out for any other payloads we might use on other mapping missions or anything of that nature. We know our base is recording. Our drone's ready to go. We've uploaded our mission, and we have our 2 figure 8s, which are the 2 hourglass flight missions we set up. When we turn this on, it only takes 1.5 to 1 second push. You'll see the 3 lights come on. That's how you know you're going to start. Show you what that looks like when we turn it on. Quick push. Not holding it down, we're just waiting just long enough for all 3 lights to be on. We're going to open up our Wi-Fi settings. So we're going to go into our Wi-Fi settings. I've already connected to it here, but it's going to show up as a Recepi 6C6 3DB. As long as it says Recepi, you're within the range of it. Click on that. Your password will be LiDAR and INS as follows. Take a look at the image with the capital L, capital A, and the capital INS. Alright, go back out of that, and then when we go into our browser, we're going to notice that there's nothing, no Wi-Fi, there's no way to connect, so we're just going to type in 192.168.12.1. And after you're connected to the Wi-Fi to Recepi, you can go into the browser, type 192.168.12.1, and it'll bring up this menu. So, now that we have this menu brought up, what we'll see is how many antenna or satellites are attached, which we're up to 30. Like I said, I would prefer. And everything looks good. So we're going to go to menu, go to storage. Here is our USB drive. There's no saved previous projects, so you have no need to format, but just in case, if you'd like to, you can hit format. If you have any projects you've done previously, make sure they are backed up on another drive or your PC before you do. While formatting this USB stick, make sure you realize you cannot format it on any PC or desktop in a quick format setting. It has to be formatted on the LiDAR unit, on the XT32 unit itself. It uses a special XT32 format. If you do make a mistake and format it, call Atlantic Laser. All right, we've got that done. So, go back to status. We can name our project for our project folder, and we're going to call it Demo XT32. We'll save that. It's in green, it says custom file name has been saved. All right, now, settings and geometry. So you go into settings and geometry, and where it says camera trigger right here, we're going to change that. Since we're going pretty slow, we'll say every 3 seconds. It's important not to take too many photos. Everybody thinks that they should set it down to maybe like 1 second, so it takes as many photos as possible. The issue with that is you're going to get too much overlap, blurs the mapping and blurs the images, and then your colorized point cloud will not turn out as accurate. The points will always be the same, but your colorized will not be as good, and your 2D ortho map won't turn out as good if you use the imaging. So we'll go back into status, and once we're ready to go, we're going to go ahead and hit start. So once we start recording, we're going to hear the camera start taking pictures every 3 seconds, and as you can see, we are recording data into our file name. Now that we're recording data with the XT32, and we can see that it's recording, when it says stop, that means it's already started. we need to turn our Wi-Fi on our phone that we connected with off so that it doesn't accidentally connect and glitch to stop recording. Now that we've got it recording, you can hear the camera taking pictures. Got it every 3 seconds like we wanted. We're going to go ahead and start our mission. So, I'm going to hit start mission. Start. Start. And we should be good to go. After we see it fly its 2 figure 8s, which is a separate mission, we're just going to go ahead and start up our second mission while the drone's still in the air. We don't let it fully return to home. There's no need for that. It's still recording data. So the minute that you see it finish and it starts beeping to return to home, stop the return to home, start your next mission. Now that it's finished, it did its figure 8s. It was starting to return to home. I paused it, went to my next mission, finished that mission so you can open up a new one. I hit play on my new mission, which was the mission plan that I planned in the first place. Once it went over, it started flying its mission. When it's done, we'll land and take a look at the data. After we stop our base station, we're going to turn everything off and go through those steps, which we'll discuss in a second. Alright, now that we got the mission completed, we're going to let this run static for at least 30 seconds. Do it for a minute, just 30 seconds is all you need to. Okay, now that we are in the phone again, I will show you. We are going to make sure we turn the Wi-Fi back on and we reattach to the Recipe unit. Okay, so it looks like once I turned it on already, it's going to be attaching directly to it. Once in a while it'll choose the base first. Doesn't really matter. You just make sure and switch it back to the LiDAR unit, and then you open up your URL, the 192.168.121. Go in and we're going to tell it to stop recording. It's ran its full static 1 minute. We have not turned off our base yet. Make sure you remember that. You always run the base starting it very first. Before you even set your drone up, you want to set up your base. The last thing you do, the very last thing you do, even after you put the drone away, everything, then turn off your base. Don't turn your base off until you're completely finished. You may need to take off and fly it again. You don't know. So the very last thing you do, if, for example, you've landed and finished your mission and you realize, oh, golly gee, I forgot to put the USB stick in. Now I got to fly it again. You didn't turn your base off. You haven't shut that down. It's collecting static data, so it's in good shape. Just make sure you do that last. Now that we've got it stopped, it shows start, which means that it is not running. We can go in, and if you want to double check, we can tap on storage, and it will show us our project. So we know it collected data. 6.4 gigs, as it was only a 3.5 minute mission. That's exactly what we were looking for. So we're going to go ahead and disconnect from that and shut the drone down, and we'll get back with you. We've got our drone, we've got our data. We're going to go ahead and we're going to turn this off. You can do it through the Wi-Fi setting. I prefer to do it right here. I can physically know it's shut off. Hold it down for 4 to 5 seconds and you will see it turn off. Make sure you hit stop recording data before you shut it off. Don't ever shut it off first, as the data might not store and you might lose everything you just collected. Then once it's turned off, that's when you can remove the USB. We're going to set that right here, right in front of me, or put it somewhere safe, your pocket, wherever, somewhere you know you're not going to lose it. Then we start detaching things since we're done with our mission. And it's not going to hurt you to leave the rubber bands attached until your next mission, or if you want to take them off now, you can. If you use the dampeners, then you want to make sure you remember to take those off and put them back in the case. And we'll be in good shape, and we'll see on the computer with the data The very last thing you do again is turn off that base station. Put your phone away, put everything away, make sure you have the collected data on the USB drive. Everything you've got is good, then turn the base off. Alright, we'll see you on the computer.